Yeah, that's fantastic. And I also, run the business with my wife. So
Cool.
when your wife is part of the business, uh, you have to understand that she's part of the business, but she's also your wife. And I'll be honest, man. I made some mistakes along the way, and thank God she self-corrected. Right, she's a great GPS.
I love how you phrase that.
So yeah, fired her once before when we worked together in the very beginning, a long time ago, and she brings to the table incredible strength. So running an operation with your wife is, it puts it at a different level, and it's a great level.
Oh,
It really is.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it really truly is. I believe that it can be one of the most tricky things to do is just kind of navigate that. Well, listen, why don't we get into it? I want you to get a little bit deeper. Give us now. Yes, you run your business with your wife, but get into just, if you will. I'd love to know a little bit about your background and some of the trials and tribulations. Just tell us a little bit about your story, Mike.
All right. So, I was very fortunate that in ninth grade, I chose to become a chiropractor.
Wow.
That was back then. So what the impetus to that was the fact that growing up in Philadelphia, I was very overweight, and this is the 60s and 70s, and my nickname was called Pads. It was an overweight kid, and the term that they used back then was husky. In fact, I bought my clothes at a store called Edco, which was Ed and Company, EDCO, and the tagline was a store for husky men and boys. And I would say to my parents, listen, I don't want to go buy clothes. I don't like doing this. And they said, come on, we'll get you your favorite soft pretzels and we'll go. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Philadelphia, but the soft pretzels surely wasn't helping the weight issue by any means, none whatsoever. So you can imagine what it's like. You're growing up, now you enter junior high, you're overweight, you're wearing black frame glasses, you cannot participate in sports, and it's not fun. I mean, the walking in the halls was dangerous to begin with, just because it was a Philadelphia school district at the time. But like getting your bookwormed. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, bookwormed. Are you familiar with that?
Well, I know the term bookworm, but getting your bookworm on, meaning like educating yourself and studying, is that what you mean? Or
no, bookworm means you're walking in the hallway and kids would slap your loose leaf binder out of your hands. The ring's open, your papers go everywhere, and the kids just take the papers and just throw them everywhere they possibly can. So that's called, so living through that, you're like, this, something has got to change. Wow. So you can imagine this is not fun at all. So ninth grade is when I became exposed to chiropractic. And that exposure came through Franco Colombo. So if you remember, Franco Colombo was good friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I said, wow, this is where I want to go. So, I'm tired of being picked on. I'm tired of being bullied. I'm tired of having the quote unquote the sand kicked in my face. And I'm going to work out weights. I'm going to bulk up and we're going to take karate. And you know what? When we get out, we're going to do some damage. Well, thank God we didn't have to go that far. But that was it. That was the impetus to say, here's where I want to go. I want to be able to work chiropractically. And I met my first chiropractor, Dr. Jay Comaric, and I thought, wow, this is really.
Was that in Philly?
That was in Philly, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
And it was absolutely incredible. And I've seen people come in his office, my father being one of them at the time, bent over, can't move, puts him on a table, does a lumbar adjustment. My dad gets up, and I'm thinking, hey, this is definitely it. And then when I can start combining nutrition, exercise, chiropractic, ninth grade was it. And I reached out to Los Angeles College of Chiropractic, what is now called Southern California University Health Sciences or Healthcare Sciences. And listen, I called them every year. And I think they let me in fine because they're just sick and tired of me calling them every year. And left Philadelphia and went out to California and started my chiropractic education.
Crazy.
So very fortunate that ninth grade, that's where it all began.
Okay, and so your main trials and tribulations, then it sounds like we're kind of just getting to a place where you had the the I don't want to say luxury, but the honor of being able to step into the chiropractic arena. and just getting there for you sounded like literally going through the gauntlet.
Literally. And we can say that, emotionally and physically, right? It's one thing to be to call the name, and it's another thing to be roughed up. Right?
How long have you been in the business now, Michael?
32 years, I think. 31, 32
crazy.
years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now you've gotten into business. You've not only gotten into business, but you also do so with your wife. I'm sure that you've had several, as we all do. I mean, I've been in the business now for a couple of decades, and we go through different, I call them evolutions.
Yes.
I'm sure if you look back, you could look at least, I don't know whether it's 5 to 7 years and then a major shift, or every decade major shift. But what have you discovered along the way that you could share with the listeners that would either shorten those major transitions, or that you've discovered about your own fulfillment in what it is that you do? Because I'm sure at some point in time you've discovered things that work, things that don't work for you. You've probably run into times when you've hit close to burnout, or you've gotten placed where things just it just doesn't work for you. It's out of integrity for your soul. What I'm interested as to what you think about all that.
So, OPM, other people's mistakes. I love to hear what other people went through, and I try to share with, the young folks coming up, this is what I've been through. I've been an associate. I've had associates. I chased the dream. I gotta have 2 offices. I've got to have 3 offices. I got up to 4 offices. I had exercise physiologists. I had chiropractors working for me. I've got 4 offices, man. I'm top dog. Well, you know what? It wasn't top dog. Not only was it not top dog physically, it wasn't top dog emotionally, and it really wasn't top dog financially. I remember driving in my car going, I'm driving from place to place, and we're not making any money. One of the problems was the associates. It wasn't their baby, and it's my baby, right? My business is my baby, and I want to treat my baby well. And my patients aren't just my patients, they're my bosses.
They're family too, man.
Right. So over many years, I've treated, family members. I have people I treat now that I've known them in high school, and now have families of their own. So I can tell you that for me, chasing that dream where, we want to have 4 offices, multiple offices, we're going to be everywhere, surely had a negative impact. So when we start pulling back one by one, that's when we really started to see the business grow.
Interesting.
And then the other thing was having associates. I wasn't going to treat associate doctors like I was treated. And you can hear the war stories of how associates are treated. And I wanted to make sure that I was giving something back. So even if they did leave me, and that's okay, I wanted them to leave me on good terms and practice ethically. And that was really important to me.
Cool.
So again, you try to have all these businesses, you chase the dollar. It just didn't make sense because you're losing yourself along the way.
Well, and what's funny about what you just said there was, for me, it's one of the reasons why I jumped into the arena and started. I started working with Garrett J. White and doing Warrior, and then brought my own training into the chiropractic world with Men of Iron. We were at a place where we had a 5,000 square foot facility. We went to a 10,000 square foot facility. I was spending less and less time with my wife. Burning everything to the ground. We had 48 staff, and I damn near walked away from everything. Like the bigger it got, the more that it was. It just kept. When was enough? And then we damn near got there again just before COVID. Again, we had over 50 staff. And one of the best blessings about COVID was it did exactly for us. It gave us the time. Excuse me. To sit back and go, do I really want to run that hard? Do I really want to run that hard managing more people? So I was feeding the monster harder and harder, almost just to make sure that everybody had food on the table, as opposed to loving people the way I wanted to love people. Right? I think it's a wonderful thing. We have this idea that bigger and more. Now, I've also, of course, now I spend kind of half my time in my practice and half my time in the ether, as we will. And there's more capacity, more scalability, I find, within the online world.
Right.
So it is kind of a balance of one of these things, but couldn't agree with you more. Sometimes busier, not necessarily better when it comes to the world of chiropractic. So cool. Any other real key, yeah, right? Any other real key gems that have come up for you over the years?
You know, it's interesting. I want to share a story with you. I remember being in California, and we're in Venice, and we're walking out, and there's a chiropractor on the sand with a table, wearing a pair of shorts and a visor, and he has a chalkboard that says, "We'll adjust for $10." And I thought, my God, this is what gives us a bad name, right? This is horrible. Later on, many years later, I'm in the office. I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy is brilliant. He has no overhead. You know, he's just, adjusting people. Now, of course, it's crazy. But when you think about that, compared to, we're going to have 50 employees, we're going to have several offices, it just doesn't make sense. And we can talk about, there are some people that have that and they follow the E-Myth and they have systems, and that's great. However, for me, it wasn't great. And I love my office now, and I get the opportunity to treat the way that I want to treat, and we're not running everywhere. We're actually concentrating on the patient, the most important person. So it's great.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about the value of simplicity, particularly as you go along.
Correct.
That's just for my sake. The more, and how hard was it when you started implementing systems into your office? I'm sure that there was a point at which you kind of rebelled because the Superman inside of you wanted to do everything, as opposed to even delegating it to the kinesiologist or whatever. But when you start to figure out what your values are and how you lead your patients through systems and habits and procedures that you lead yourself, and you just don't verge off of that, I think that's another key principle that I've heard you say in the past, but also that I would like to reinforce is we don't have to do everything for everyone, but what we do in integrity to what it is that we do for ourselves.
That's correct. So, and I got to be honest, I still struggle with I will take care of that. I'll take care of that. Listen, I'll just do it because if I do it, I'll do it right. But you know what? That's not right. And that's not healthy for myself. In creating those boundaries, I was working with one of my mentors, and she was telling me, we were talking about creating boundaries, and, we had some great growth this week with creating my boundary because I always want to be there for my patient. My wife is like, who are you texting? It's 10:30 at night. I'm like, I'm talking to one of the patients. She goes, it's 10:30 at night. You're not doing brain surgery. But, it's important to create those boundaries. And that's what we're working on now, because you think you can do everything and you want to do everything for everyone. But you also have to be careful, because then you can compromise yourself along the way.
Totally. Okay. So my next question for you, because ultimately, I think that when we go through this process of trials and tribulations, and we have we experience what works, what doesn't work, ultimately we become our own guru, and that's what people need to go through as well. Is that you need to go into, sometimes you need to go into your maximum capacity before you realize either you need to step up into the next level, or you need to go, no, that's not really for me. So what does freedom mean for you, if I may ask? So for you, you created a lifestyle. What does freedom look like for you, Michael?
It's time. If you asked me, 30 years ago, I'm going to tell you money, 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 right?
Yeah, totally.
And now, but to be honest with you, freedom is time and health. That's what it really comes down to. It's a matter of, leading the way I want to lead my life. So since COVID, we haven't worked a Friday. We're done. We're done working Fridays, So that was one of the great things that came out of COVID. It allows me more time to do what I like to do, which is write. I created my first course, so it allowed me to do that. It allowed me to restructure my business. But freedom is about time and health for me. So I want to be able to have the ability to, work out 4 or 5 days a week.
Right.
If I don't work out, I'm kind of a bear, to be polite, got to work out. So freedom is.
I think what I'm hearing you say is instead of just investing into your business, investing into your body is at the same time.
Yep, body and mind.
Not just fitting it in, actually investing in it.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. Mindset is huge. And I can tell you, read books about positive thinking and all that. However, it's taken many years to get it to sink in.
Yeah.
Right. So you can eat something, but you really don't absorb it. So now, fortunately now it's at a time of absorption. So it's great. So I think, time for me, when you say freedom, that is time to do things that I enjoy, time to spend with my family, to do things I enjoy, which is working out, exercising, and reading and writing.
Cool. And so have you gotten into furthering your reading and writing at all?
Yep. So I have 2 published articles that I did a long time ago. One was on repair of anterior cruciate ligament, so long ago that they were using a patellar tendon bone graft. That's how long ago that was.
Wow.
Another published article was on evaluation of a patient who presented with ear pain post-motor vehicle. And that was a pretty cool one. Cool. And then I was a contributing author to 101 Great Ways to Improve Your Health. And then I wrote my own book, A Boomer's Guide to Chronic Pain. And now we're going with a 3rd book. So we've been playing around with the 3rd book and then writing my own posts. So yeah.
you must now, because you've had experience doing a whole bunch of these, you must have almost a system down to getting your books out.
No, I would write it. It's so funny because I would write at night. I sleep about 5-6 hours a night. It's always been that way. I know we need more. I read that we need more. I study that we need more, but my body works great at 5 to 6 hours. So I write a lot at night. At the end of the day, things calm down. I can write. I know a lot of folks love that writing in the morning, that first thing 5 to 6 in the morning, but in my mornings, that's for working out. So nighttime's for writing.
Got it, man. What a system that you've created for your body. Just you understand how it works and and how you got it done. Now, do you use an editor? What do you do for that?
So I have a couple of patients who will look through my work, which helps me out greatly. And they capture my voice. They understand my inflection, my tone, my sense of humor. And so they help me. And of course I give it to my wife to look and read. And when I give it to her read and she goes, "I love you," that means go upstairs and start rewriting that again. That's what that message means. I first thought it was a message of, heartfelt, "I love you," but no, that means go upstairs and write it. And fortunately, my daughter, she holds a double degree in public policy and planning and in English. So I just give it to her and she looks it over, and I give it to my son to look it over. So I have like a in-house editing system.
I love it. So good. Okay. So now, 2 questions, 2 last questions that I want to kind of follow into. Over the years, what do you feel has been your single biggest obstacle, frustration, or challenge?
It's always worrying about the new patient. Where's that new patient going to come from? Always trying to get to the new patient. Where is that new patient? That has been an obstacle. Who do we need to network with next? What do we need to do next? So I'm always looking at what's coming down the pike. How do we need to move? Who do I need to create a relationship with?
Okay. And what have you discovered that you could share with the young men and women coming into business in general?
So believe it or not, the narrative report, this sounds so funny and it's going to sound so old school, but believe it or not, it was the narrative report, that initial report when a patient come in, when I would send it out to the doctors in my area, that's what really got the practice going. So I would say probably 80% of my practice is referred in from the local medical community.
Is that right? It sounds like you've got a real knack for kind of mixing in and really getting deep into the rehabilitation knowledge and connecting with those physicians that are kind of connected in the community. Good for you. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that because there's most people of the what I will term the next generations now are so focused heavily on marketing themselves as opposed to networking themselves.
Right.
So as opposed to communicating, connecting, it's really just like knocking on cold doors, and I think that a lot of people are really experiencing hard knocks with that.
And that's true. And listen, when I first got here from California, in California, we were already, as chiropractors, we were already working with medical doctors and we were working with some PTs. And when I got back here to Pennsylvania, not knowing that there was this hierarchy back then. So this is early 90s, not knowing there's this hierarchy. I send out a initial report. Some medical doc calls me, rips me a new one. How dare I? And who am I to send him a report? And I shouldn't treat his patient. And I didn't realize that it was kind of like medical doctor, MD, DO, PT, a whole bunch of other people, Satan, and then chiropractic, right? So I didn't understand the hierarchy back then.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So, I took it, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to send my reports anyway. And we continue to send the reports. But more importantly, we continue to get the patient better. So it's hard to argue with the patient returning to the doctor going, I don't have headaches. My back feels better. My neck feels better. My gut is not bothering me anymore. So it's hard. Now, listen, it's years now, so there's a lot of great transition. A lot of the young medical docs coming out, a lot of DOs, they're like, listen, you know what? You want the manipulation, you want the rehab, you can have it. We don't have the time, nor do we have the inclination. So if you can work as a team, which we do, everything's great. I want to say to the young guys and girls coming up, working as a team is wonderful. Sending out that narrative report. We can't go out and press the flesh, as they say, because of COVID, whatever their thing is. Some docs don't want you to come to the office. That's okay. You know what? A phone call is great. A report is great. That's how you do it. And, get their patient better. Get their patient better and send them a note saying the patient's better. You discharge them from care. It's power in words.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So I got one more question for you, Michael. If you are talking to the greater world right now, who is your ideal person that you like to help?
So our person that comes to the office, the ideal person is, I've been everywhere. They've taken a whole bunch of tests. They did a whole bunch of studies. They say that everything is normal and I still feel horrible. And that is my patient. And those are the people that I see. Those who
you like the complex cases, don't you?
They are complex. And you know what? That's okay because there's nowhere else for them to turn. And they've been to a lot of places and they're frustrated. Can you imagine having a ton of gut pain or back pain being told it's in your head?
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine that. Yes, I see this on a daily basis.
We want to give them a place where they feel welcome, a place where they feel like they're not going to be judged, and we want to provide them hope. And we explain to them, listen, you didn't get here overnight, and getting better is not going to happen overnight. So those are the type of patients that we see.
Wonderful. Okay, my friend. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, your energy, your expertise, and your wisdom in sharing with those that are now going to walk in the path that you are walking in. You have no idea just those simple little gems that I wish that I had heard earlier in my life or in my career as well. So again, my friend, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your energy. Have a wonderful night. And if you ever have any other gems, please continue to share, and I'll welcome you back on the show. And I would love to have the discourse.
Great. Thanks.
Have a wonderful night, Michael. Bye for now.
Love your work. Take care, man.
Thank you.